Hello my dear students, how are you all? Welcome you back in my geography class. Well, today we will start the topic of earthquake for class 11. Did you ever notice that the ground is shaking? The question comes in our mind that what is this shaking called? Why do the earth shake? What are the causes of the shaking? So today in this video we will discuss about the topic of earthquake. In the last video, we discussed about the direct and the indirect sources that gives us information about the interior of the earth. Seismic activity is referred as one of the main indirect sources which provides us information about the interior of the earth. Now, the seismic activity is also referred as the earthquake. Now, let us know what you mean by earthquake. Now, earthquake is defined as the sudden shaking of the earth. Now, how it is caused? It is caused by the release of energy. Now, this energy generates waves and they travel in all direction. Now the question that comes to our mind is what are the basic causes of the earthquake? So let us know what are the basic causes of earthquake. The basic cause of earthquake is the stress. Now, what do you mean by stress? Stress means a force per unit area. That means force divided by area. What do you mean by force? It is mass into acceleration. Now, stress, that means, what do you mean by stress? So when we are giving force or we are putting force, that is referred as stress, right? Now, what will this stress cause? This stress will cause compressional or tensional forces, which will lead to deformation in the rocks. Now, let us see that what are the deformations that are caused by stress. First one is the plastic deformation. Which does not cause any change. In earthquake. The next one is the elastic deformation. Now, in elastic deformation, we can say that in terms of rock, what happens when the stress is produced, the rock will get stretched. And as the rock will get stretched, that means the force is applied. And as the rock is getting stretched, after a certain point, the rock will break. And that will lead to deformation. So that is referred as the elastic deformation, which will lead to deformation of the rocks. And fracture, which is the brittle nature that can be seen in solids. So these are the deformations that are caused due to stress. Plastic deformation does not cause any change. Elastic deformation, which causes deformation of the rocks. Flow, which is viscous behavior. And fracture, which is brittle in nature, that can be seen in the solids, where we can see that there is a fracture. Fracture means a break. A rock will break. That is referred as the fracture. Now let us see which is the second basic cause of the earthquake. Now let us see which is the second basic cause which leads to earthquake. It is strain. Now the question comes to our mind that is stress caused by strain or strain caused by stress? Actually, in both ways. Stress can cause strain and strain can cause stress. What is strain then? It is deformation in a solid induced by applied stress and its dimension. Now suppose here is a rubber band. Now as I'm stretching the rubber band can be stretched till 5 centimeter. Now I'm stretching it more. Now it has been stretched till 6 centimeter. So you can see that 1 centimeter that has been stretched extra, you can see that is causing a strain. Now so if you will divide 1 centimeter divided by 5 centimeter, it's coming 0.20. So we can say that 0.20 energy has been applied to a rubber band so that it can be stretched to more 1 centimeter. So this is how the earthquake is caused, and these are the basic causes of earthquake, that is stress and strain. Now let us see what are the other causes of earthquake and what leads to the shaking of the earthquake. Now let us know what are the causes of earthquake. Or we can say, why do the earthquake occurs? Now, the earthquake occurs due to many other causes. The plate tectonics. Now, the Earth's crust is divided into certain plates, which we call as the tectonic plates. Now, what are these tectonic plates? These are massive, irregularly shaped, solid slabs of rock, and these are floating on the mantle. Now, these plates are constantly moving at a very slower rate. Usually we cannot feel the movement of the plates. When we can feel, when there is an earthquake or there is a volcanic activity, then only we can feel the movement of the plates. Otherwise, the plates are constantly moving and we cannot feel the movement of the plates. There are 3 types of plate boundaries. Number 1, the convergent plate boundaries. Divergent plate boundaries. And transform fault plate boundaries. Now, what happens in these 3 types of plate boundaries? Now, the convergent plate boundary, we will see here that the plates move towards each other. Usually, the plates are of continental and oceanic type. The movement of the plates can be between continent and continent. It can be between oceanic and continent and oceanic and oceanic. Now, when the plates of the same origin, that is of continent and continent, will move towards each other, as both of them have same origin, so we will see that as they will collide, it will lead to a creation like the formation of the Himalayan mountains. Now what will happen when the plates of different densities will move towards each other? At that time, the plates which are of higher density will go down. That means it will lead to subduction, where the plates of higher density will get subduct and the plates of lighter density will rest upon the plate which has a higher density. Here we will see that in this zone where the subduction will occur, this place there will be release of energy, because it will lead to a break in the rocks. You can see here that here the rocks will break and here the plates will get molten. So here the energy will be released and this energy is referred as the earthquake. Now in case of the divergent plate boundary, what will happen? The plates move away from each other. Now as they move away from each other, they leads to volcanic activities and shallow earthquake. That means the intensity of the earthquake is not that much. Now coming to the last one, the transform fault boundary. Here we will see the plates move, slide past one another. Now as the plates move, slide past one another, here we can see that a fracture is caused, and due to this fracture, waves are released. And these waves are referred as the earthquake waves. They also cause shallow earthquakes. And sometimes there can be no earthquakes. Sometimes earthquakes can be of high intensity. So these are the three types of plates which lead to the earthquakes. Now we read about the stress. So what happened due to this tectonic plates, to the movement of the tectonic plates here, as I said, that one plate is getting subducted. So here stress is created and this stress lead to the deformation of the rocks, and this deformation will lead to the release of energy which will cause the earthquake. Now, this earthquake waves are created along a fault line. Now, let us know what is a fault line. Now, to understand that why do the earth shake, it is very important to know what is a fault. To understand what is a fault, you need to look at this picture. In this picture, you can see that the crustal rocks are shown. Now these crustal rocks, or the layers of rocks, were stuck together, or we can say they were conjoined together. Now this break at an angle, when we can see there is a sharp break or fracture between two blocks of rocks, this fracture is known as the fault. Now what happens? The fault allows the blocks to move relative to each other. Now due to this, the rocks get deformed abruptly and slide past one another. So this is a fault line. You can see this one is a fault line. Now let us understand what is the definition of fault. What is a fault? A fault is a fracture along which a rock on one side move relative to the rock on other side. Now the question that comes to our mind, what is a fracture? A fracture is referred as a break in the crustal rocks that makes up the earth's crust, along which rocks on either side have moved past each other. The direction of movement along the fault plane determines the fault type. So when the layers of rocks that are stuck together suddenly slip an earthquake occurs. Now let us understand the mechanism that how this earthquake occurs due to the fault line. How does earthquake happens? It is caused by a sudden slip on a fault. What is a fault? It is a sharp break or fracture in the crustal rocks. Now let us see that how this fault is created and how it leads to earthquake. As you can see in the first picture that the layers of the rocks are conjoined or stuck with one another. Now in the earth's outer layer we will see that some stresses are created due to the movement of the plates. And the plates lead to a sharp break or fracture in between the two blocks of rocks. This sharp break or fracture between the two blocks of rocks or in the crustal rocks is known as the fault. Now this fault allows the blocks to move relative to each other. That means the rocks along a fault tend to move in opposite direction. Now as the overlying rock strata presses them, and due to this movement we will see that friction is created, and the friction locks the rock strata together. But however, there is a tendency to move apart, so at some point of time they will overcome the friction and the rocks get deformed, abruptly slide past one another. And as the rocks slide past one another, suddenly it releases energy in waves that travels through the earth's crust and cause the shaking that we feel during an earthquake. So how an earthquake is caused? It is caused by a sudden slip on a fault. I hope all of you understood the definition of fault. Here you can see that this one is a fault, that is a sharp break or bend in the earth crust. And you have understood that what happens along this fault line, the rocks slide past each another and here the energy is released. So we can see this is the point from where the energy is released. This is inside of the earth. So this place is known as the focus or hypocentre. So what is a focus or hypocentre? It is the region where the earthquake waves initiate in the interior of the earth. Now right above the focus, just above the focus, in the surface of the earth, the place where the earthquake waves reaches first is referred as the epicenter. So what is an epicenter? That means the place just above the focus at the surface of the earth. We can also say that this place is the nearest to the focus. Now, so this is the place where it will get the earthquake waves first. So the areas which are located close to the epicenter will have high intensity of earthquake. As distance will increase from the epicenter, the intensity of earthquake will go on decreasing. So the earthquake causes what? Waves that travels in all direction. It releases energy and this energy generate waves that travels in all direction. Now these waves are recorded in what? Recorded in seismograph. And the study of earthquake and the seismic waves or the earthquake waves are called seismology. Now all the earthquakes are caused where? In the lithosphere. So all the earthquakes occurs where? In the lithosphere. Now these earthquake waves, they travel in different direction. What happens? Their velocity differs as they travel through different materials with different densities. The direction of these waves will also change as they move through different materials of different densities. Somewhere they will reflect and somewhere they will refract. Clear? Now, what are the other causes of earthquake? Earthquake is also caused due to volcanic activity. So when there is volcanic activity, it leads to earthquake. It is also caused due to anthropogenic factors. That means man-made factors, like for dams, we have dam-induced, reservoir-induced earthquakes. And also due to crustal deformations. So these are the causes of earthquake. So in this video we discussed about earthquake. Why do the earthquake occur? We discussed about the basic causes of earthquake, that is stress and strain, and then we discussed about the other causes of earthquake, that is the plate tectonic. We discussed about the movement of the plates, about the fault line, about the focus or hypocenter and the epicenter. And we have also discussed about the seismic waves that are generated due to the release of energy. Now we also learned about other causes of the earthquake other than the plate tectonic, like the volcanic activity, anthropogenic factors and the crustal deformations. So I hope all of you understood the video well. Now you will read your NCERT, you will read in between the lines and will follow the PDF that has been provided in the description box. If you like my video and my content, don't forget to hit the like button. If you have any problem or any suggestion, do comment in the comment box given below. If you are new to my channel, do subscribe my channel and don't forget to hit the bell icon for further notifications of my upcoming videos. Stay tuned for my next video, that is on the seismic waves. Till then, stay safe and stay at your home. Thank you.